Hello everyone and welcome to the International Harvester versus John Deere series. I said we was going to discuss his tractors from front to back, and I'm not lying. So the first big thing about them is front ends. I mean, you probably say, well, the weight bracket's in front. I'll start with that. Yeah, I mean, it's a weight bracket. I mean, it's a big piece of metal, and both of them's just as good as the other one. This one looks better because it's red, though. So, anyway, they're both the weight bracket, so nothing to discuss there. So, we will start with front ends. Yes. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, we're going to look at this one, then we're going to go look at that one. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, International didn't do as good of a job as John Deere on building front ends. Now, that's one thing I will admit. For a John Deere front end is a little bit heavier duty. So let's go look at the Deere. Okay, first things first, it skews all the crap piled up around it. This is kind of a mess. We need to clean up down here. This is where we're working on everything at. The tractor, it is tore apart for PTO clutch issues, but that is not going to have anything to do with the front end, so we're going to go ahead and keep discussing the front end. But anyway, that's why there's a mess down here. Okay. I'll give you a look at it. Now, this front end is built a lot heavier duty. This piece is a lot heavier duty. See, there's not a tube with a knee that goes into it. Like on that tractor, it's just one big piece of steel just bolted together with a clamp on it. That is not supposed to be there. That is probably something for when we would be driving down the roads doing something, but I don't know. Anyway, ignore that. This front end's built a lot better than the one on that tractor. The main wear points on this front end is right there, that kingpin, or I don't know, I don't remember, but these two pins are the main wear point on these John Deere front ends. Everything else is just built a lot better. Now there are wear points, but the two main concerns of this front end is these pins right here. And both of these have been redone. But after a lot of time, like this tractor, you can put a tank bracket on it, like that one is sitting right there, and carry tanks if you're planting and spraying and stuff. Then that wears out the front end. You can put a loader on this tractor that also wears out the front end. The worst thing for a tractor is to put a blade, a tank bracket, or a loader on it, because it just wears the front end out. So both of these pins have been redone on this tractor. What you do, you take the pin out, weld the pin up until it's nice and round like it's supposed to be, and then the hole will be egg-shaped at the bottom. And it'll be egg-shaped around. So you have to weld that hole up until that pin fits in tight. And this tractor's 40 years old, and that front end probably ain't been, them two pins probably ain't been redone but once or twice in its life. So it's pretty good. But you see, everything else is pretty clean under here, no big cracks. I mean, now that's not the only wear points. Everything under here is a wear point. Tie rod ends, the knees right here. Same thing for the other side. So there's a whole lot of wear points, but those pins are the main wear points. And these tie rods are also heavier duty than the ones on the International. So now let's go look at the International and talk about it. Okay. First thing you notice here, instead of two pieces of metal clamped together, we have a tube that runs all the way through. And with what they call the knee in the end of it. And the knee is this piece right here. See, this is a lot smaller than the one on that John Deere. These are different tie rods than the ones that come on at factory, but you can see we've already have some things happened to them. If I can remember, I'll put a picture up here of what happened to it. I was going to smooth out a road with the hair behind it, and something made a popping sound, so I stopped. I mashed the clutch, and I looked back to see if anything happened behind me, and the tractor rolled back a little bit, and this wheel turned this way, and the other one was still straight, because the tie rod broke right here, because the nut was not tight enough on it. So we welded that up, and that permanently fixed that. So if we ever decide to adjust it, crap on that. But see how this is all boogered and welded up. This is supposed to be a piece here. This well's not supposed to be on there. This is supposed to be just a regular piece like the one on the other tractor with a big old fat nut on it like that. But this whole thing's been welded up here. Also, these knees here will wear out pretty good when they'll rock like that. When these get a lot of wear on them, when you start to back the tractor up, the dang knee will just rock back and forth when you're going around. Like if you're going forward, they'll lean forward, and when you back up, it'll pull them back, and they just have a lot of play in them. That's because the hole that is under that pin is wore, and that pin itself is wore. So that's a wear point. Another big wear point is that king pin right there up under the front. There's a pin under there, that's a big wear point. And then this pin here, but this is not really a pin, it's kind of like I do not have any pictures or anything to show you, and I don't think I'll be able to find one, but it's kind of like a ball with a bolt welded on the end of it, like a trailer ball. Like the hitch you'd put on the back of your truck to pull a trailer. That's what it looks like that goes in there, and that ball goes under here with shims and stuff in it, and then the end of it sticks out and goes through this frame. Yes, that is also a very big wear point, because for some stupid reason they didn't make it where you could grease that part. So, yeah, and then that pin right there is a pretty big wear point too. The steering cylinder, that's a wear point. And it's not hitting the frame, it just sounds like it is. Yeah. This International front end is just not built as good as the Deere front end. Also, that tire slick as the baby's butt, and this one's not. But I have a fix for that. There's a new tire up there at the house we're going to put on it. So, you see how this one? Somebody has cut the nut off of it, and that fancy welding right there, I did. When I bought the tractor, the weld that went around this was broke, and this wheel would just wobble. So I took it up there to the welder and welded that back up. This knee is also wore out much more worse than the other one is. This thing will rock back and forth a pretty good bit. This tie rod is okay though, because it is tight. It's kind of a weird setup for steering under here, but yeah. This is the pin I was talking about. Right in there. Okay, the main thing for a front end is to keep it greased. Grease it every 50 to 100 hours. Grease it, grease it, grease it, grease it. That's what makes them last. Grease. International, you can grease this pin over here. I don't know about John Deere. Let's go look at it. Yes, you can grease it. I thought you could grease it, but I wasn't sure. There's grease fitting out there to grease that kingpin. Now, don't ask me this. This tractor, by the way it looks, does not have a steering cylinder. It's got a, whatever you call that piece right there, kind of like this, just turned upside down up under there. And the steering lines, that is hydraulic lines, go down in here to what I would have to say, if it's like a 56 series International, it's just a bolster that turns, and there's a piston in that bolster. When you turn the wheel and shoot oil to it, that piston pushes that. International calls it a pulley, but I don't know what this one's called. I've never seen this part. But you see, y'all can go down in the comments and correct me on all this stuff, on that anyway. but there does not appear to be a cylinder. It's probably just a bolster. Just got a piston in it that just turns that arm right there. It turns the tie rods. And now over here on the International, there's lines that go up there to the front of the engine for the steering, and these steering lines go to this steering cylinder right here. You see, if that cylinder blows out, you can get to it fairly easy to take it off and rebuild it. Very easy to get to. You can replace these lines very easy, as long as those steel lines don't bust. Yeah. So, like most things International, it's a whole lot easier to work on than the Deere. But, see, this front end is not as good as the John Deere, but you can work on it and get to it easier. Over here on the Deere, like we talked about a while ago, that arm goes up through there if you want to get that bolster up. Well, that's exactly what it is. It's a bolster that's up under there. Well, you might can take that plate off right there and rebuild it. That's probably what you do. You probably take that plate off and rebuild it. But it's not as easier to get as it's not as easy to get to as the International. Way up under there. So y'all go ahead and get down in the comments and tell me how that comes apart and everything. I'd like to know that, because that one is leaking. That's probably going to be a fun job, because you have to tear all this stuff out if it comes out of the bottom tie rods, and then drop that plate. Drop that plate, and it probably comes out of there. Yeah, they wouldn't build it where you have to tear all that crap off, I don't think. Some John Deere's are built like that, but this is a 30 series, and that was built in the USA, so it's probably not too awful hard. You probably just take that stuff out and drop it out the bottom. So, y'all go down in the comments and tell me how that comes apart, because I'd like to know. So again, it's just your preference, basically, because the International is much easier to get to. You know, anything you need to replace it, or you can get to it fairly easy. Now, price-wise, most International parts are cheaper. Not saying any of these parts are cheaper than John Deere. They are going to wear out faster, even if you keep them greased and take good care of them. They're just not made out of as thick material as the Deere. So the Deere is going to last longer, but it might be a harder job to fix when it does wear out. So, I don't know. I haven't done much work on either of them. So, it's really just your preference. I'm going to stick probably with the International just because it's easier to get at. But the Deere is a good front end too, so it's 50-50. They're both good front ends. I mean, this one's easier to work on when it does tear up than that one. But that one's not going to tear up as often, so just take your pick. Anyway guys, that's going to do it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one when we talk about whatever's next. Oh, and by the way, no, I did not forget to mention the other series of tractors like I talked about in the first video. This is the same front end used on all of the 66 series tractors and all of the 86 series tractors. On the International, it's the same one. The 56 series tractors have a different front end. I will not be discussing that because I do not have a 56 series tractor here to discuss it. Let's go to the John Deere. This John Deere front end, I don't know as much about it, but I know this front end has the same concept. This isn't the exact same front end like on the International, but that goes to different tractors. But this is the same concept that goes on all of the 30 series and all of the 40 series John Deere's. The 50 series, I think it's similar, but I think there's some differences to it. And I know the 40 series has a few differences to it too, I think. Just putting that out there. And this front end is going to be different from a 4230 to a 4630. This is a 4630. So, just saying, this is not the exact same front end on all the 30 series and 40 series, but it's very, very, very similar. So, I'm going to put that out there. So, thank y'all for watching, and we will see you in the next part of the series.